Welcome to the study session of the Aspen Peaks Board of Education. Today is Thursday, February 12th, 2026, and the time is 4 o'clock p.m. We are meeting at the Aspen Alpine School District offices, and we are still waiting on Jason Feeler and Nikki Brammer, but present is Amber Bonner, Jean Marie Burrows, Jason Hart, and Steve Sparty, and Diane Knight. Here's Nikki Brammer. And Joel Perkins. We are so glad you're here.
I don't want Joel to be forgotten.
Hello. We appreciated the information we received from the Transportation Department on January 8th, and we are excited to have them here for part 2. And we will turn the time over to Joe and Rex.
Thank you. So yeah, we are grateful to be back with you guys again, and we felt like last time we shared a lot of information very, very quickly. So we wanted to kind of pick it up where we, as close as we could tell, where we kind of finished last time. So there may be a little bit of repeat information, but I think that's fine. Yet at the same time as we go through this, we understand that this is for you. So if we're not addressing some of the concerns or questions that you have, then please stop us at any time and make sure to bring those questions up. And if we can't answer them right now, we'll certainly go back and have those answers for you. So just as a reminder, my name is Joe Hayes. I'm the Director of Operations, but as I told you last time, I spent 10 years as the Director of Transportation on the east side of the district. And so that's my background. Prior to that, I was in the schools as an assistant principal and teacher, and I've been with Alpine for, 26 years. So, and then Rex, introduce yourself.
Yeah. Rex Brimhall, Director of Transportation, currently West, and been in the position now going on 10 years. Can't believe it. It's passed just like that. But just excited to be here to share this information with you. And like Joe said, if you have questions, please stop us and ask them.
Hopefully Rex and I work well together. We actually went to college together at SUU, and we're doing athletics at the same time and knew each other down there. And yeah, some 30 years later, here we are. Okay, so as we, not working, so I'll just hit it there. As we kind of finished off last time, I think we kind of talked a little bit about currently where we're at, right? We're under a lot of pressure as a transportation department. We've done some innovative things to try to curtail that and do the best that we can. We've been aggressive as far as recruiting new drivers. We've provided incentives for our existing drivers to remain bus drivers in Alpine. We've done things like double runs, we drop off early, sometimes we pick up late. So we're trying to do as best we can with the resources that we have had and continue to do that. Right now we're in a very good spot in that we have more drivers than we've had in a while, but we know that that fluctuates, and we do expect in the spring, as we kind of get to that construction period again, that we'll continue to lose drivers that have that CDL and then go find other work, especially because we don't provide a ton of work during the summer. So yeah, with those things in mind, we wanted to make sure that we shared with you, in however this goes for all 3 districts, right? There are really 3 things that we consider kind of the big rocks that we need to take a hard look at. Obviously, whether we're going to split and have 3 separate transportation departments, or whether there'll be a shared service model between all 3 or 2 of the 3. We need to make sure that as individual districts, we take a good hard look at school start and end times, because to a large degree, that determines how, as a department, efficient we can be and the level of service that we can provide to the students and families of the district. And then we need to look at ineligible ridership. So again, those are students that live further than 1.5 or 2 miles from the school, or within that boundary, right? So if you're at 1.4, you don't get transportation. If you're an elementary student, 1.9 for a secondary student. Okay, so strategies for reconfiguration. Well, let's go back here. So really, as I just said, there are a couple of different options: 3 independent transportation departments, and then shared services. And from our lens, as we've talked as a transportation department, we really feel like Lake Mountain is fairly well positioned to go out on their own based on the infrastructure that they currently have, whereas with Aspen Peaks and Timpanogos, it does make sense to perhaps enter into a shared model.
Quick question, Joe.
Yeah.
Makes sense for who?
Certainly for Timpanogos, but we also think that it may make sense for Aspen Peaks as well, and we'll kind of get to that as we move through the presentation. But there is some benefit in sharing. Just as kind of an example, the other day I was out of transportation, and we had a problem over here at American Fork, and we had a West driver that didn't have something to do, and so they were able to go over and help. And when you are 3 separate districts, right, then you lose that ability to kind of support one another when you do run into problems. And so we feel that, when you are a little bit bigger, that provides, again, some options and some flexibility when you run into some of those types of problems. Okay, so current realities, working now. Again, for this district, and if you guys haven't been out to see the transportation facility out in American Fork, I would encourage you as individuals or as a board to come out and just to take a look at that facility to get a better understanding of what happens out there and what we do every day. But again, from where you sit as a new school district, you're in a very good position as far as transportation is concerned. You have all the infrastructure that you need. You have the office. We have a nice big yard out there with plenty of space. We have a fueling station, which is fantastic, plenty of parking, and we have a great service center out there. So everything is there for you guys to succeed from day one. And of course, our certified testing course. So again, we do all of our CDL testing in-house, which is a great benefit and allows us, once we train our drivers, to quickly get them licensed and out transporting students. All right, we said kind of in jest that the only thing you need is a soft serve ice cream machine. That was David's request out there. Possible solutions, a Planet rental at $100 a day. So again, you guys are in a really good spot.
We'll buy one.
Yeah. I'll make Timpanogos buy it for you, right?
That will be the deciding factor.
Please don't tell Joe I said that.
We won't tell him you said that, but.
Yeah, so there is a aerial footage of our hub right there. And again, it is a great facility, and there's, there is room to continue to add buses out there, so we don't see that as an issue at all.
Do we own properties left, right, north, south, east, or west of this?
I don't believe we own any property in any direction over there. No.
Is nothing adjacent to this?
No.
So
No.
here,
I
I'll show
know
you.
that-
I was pulling up a map.
Yeah, there was, I think, an opportunity for the property over here at one time, right?
We were looking into that.
They're
because
right
it would
there.
be nice to be able to combine
Or
our
right there,
facilities
actually.
department right next to our bus
where
garage,
you could pay
especially
at the
where
train
it's more
station is.
industrial out there.
know where the train station
We're looking at
here's
the
I-15,
property.
but
right
Target's
there.
over here.
That
Target is over here.
entity to sell.
Can I just hold
It's
that?
near
Oh, okay.
Marina.
Linden Marina?
Okay, so as a reminder, this is just kind of a breakdown of what the Aspen Peaks district would look like as we separate out. So again, you have 43% of total riders, and again, almost 43% of eligible riders. And so again, your total ridership and your eligible ridership is very close, which again essentially means you don't have a ton of kids that are ineligible that are accessing bus services right now. So again, with the matrix that we shared with you earlier of how we would divide, right, by eligible ridership was the number that we were using to kind of look at that division. So 166 buses. If we just split up the drivers that we currently have, 116 of those, you'd have roughly 117 routes. And then here is your office support staff and the number of mechanics, again, if we just split up based on eligible ridership. Okay, any questions with anything here? All right, as a transportation department, we feel like these are the roles and positions that you would need, and really any transportation department would need, right? So again, we have routers which put our routes together and utilize software to do that. We have a SPED and a regular ed router. We have people that are responsible for the systems that are on the buses to make sure our cameras, our GPS, TransFinder, which is our routing software, to make sure all those pieces of software are functioning properly, dispatch, payroll. We have driver coaches, which has been a fantastic addition to our department in the last couple of years, and they go out almost like a PLC coach works with a teacher. Our driver coaches go out and they work with drivers to improve not only their driving, but working on behavioral issues that may be occurring on the bus. So we feel like those are essential. Of of course, all the roles that we have out in our shop and custodial. So from our lens, again, we figured that you'd need 24 to 25 people, and you've been allocated 18 based again on that division of eligible riders. All right, so just quickly we'll go through Timpanogos, because again, if there is going to be a partnership, I think it's important you understand kind of where they're at. So current reality is that there is nothing in place as far as transportation is concerned, right? That's their current reality. Their essential needs are an office and training classroom, service center, bus wash, parking, fueling station, training, CDL space, and employee parking. So all the things that you have, obviously, they would need as well. Possible solutions, right? They would have to build a facility, use part of an existing facility, which is our facilities, facility, and, retrofit part of that to accommodate buses and do something like that. They could park at home and issue fuel cards, which is something that, was done years and years ago. And that is an option, but, not a popular option with the public. Partner with you guys, or contract through a third party. So that would be an option for them as well. And contract all their needs through Aspen Peaks. Okay, again, this was more for Timpanogos, but there is a third party option out there. We utilized them at the beginning of the school year for drivers, right? We had a very severe driver shortage right at the beginning of the school year, and so we reached out to this company, and they provided some drivers for us on a temporary basis from out of state, and it helped fill a immediate need. And then in the interim, we were able to hire and train additional drivers, so that was a very short-term solution. But Ogden School District, as long as I can remember, has been utilizing a company called First Student, and it's just a third-party company that does all of their transportation, but it is expensive, right? And so if you look at what they spend per student versus what we spend per student, it's a big difference.
And is that spend per student just on the contracted rate, or is that the contracted rate plus maintenance plus?
I'm sure it's
You know what I mean? Is that like a fully burdened?
Yeah, I'm sure that includes everything, right? All their maintenance costs, all their employee costs, fuel costs, everything. That's what they're spending per student.
Could you go back, Joe, real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so $650 per student?
$650.
Yeah, $650 per student.
Yeah. Good? Okay, and again, this was just an option. Here's our facilities area over in Linden, and at one time this served as their transportation area, and they used this to work on buses, and they've since retrofitted all that to accommodate different things that the district has over there in their department. All right, so again, just a breakdown of Timpanogos' numbers, similar to what you guys we shared with you. Obviously, you guys have a much, you're at 43% of total riders, where they're at 19%. And when you look at their eligible ridership, it drops down even from there, whereas you guys stated about 43%. Again, they're going to have the same needs that any transportation department is going to need in order to make that run efficiently. But the difference is, once again, that there's a shortfall there, and it's a much bigger shortfall than you guys were looking at. Somewhat bigger shortfall. Okay, so again, another representation of who has what between the three new districts. And again, Lake Mountain is in a fairly good position. They will need a service center at some point in time. But again, Aspen Peaks as a district, you have everything you need to be up and running right out of the chute. And Timpanogos obviously does not. Okay, any questions about any of that we shared with you? Yeah.
So you said Alpine's cost per student is about $1,100. That I'm assuming includes all the unfunded routes.
Yeah.
Is that different in each area because the South runs so many unfunded routes?
I mean, it's going to be a little bit different, right? Because you have a higher percentage of ineligible riders that are coming out of there, so it would be a little bit higher. But again, I think as you look at reconfiguration, it's an opportunity for not only, Aspen Peaks, but for all three districts to really take a good hard look at what level of service do you want to provide for those students who do not qualify, right?
Yeah.
If at the state they're not willing to make a change in the law or how they define eligible ridership, then I think this is an opportunity. And as you potentially enter into a partnership with Timpanogos to have that conversation about, okay, what level of ineligible ridership will we, as an individual district or as a partnering unit, decide to support. And so there can be some conversations centered around that.
That's something that's tricky for me because I feel like with the shortage of drivers we're having, it would be difficult for me to support doing double runs for our eligible kids so that we can not do double runs for ineligible kids in another district. You know what I mean? Like that would be tricky. I'm willing to partner, but I just feel like there's some details there that are going to be a little bit tricky to figure out.
Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, that's one of those three big rocks, right? Is if there is a decision to have a shared transportation department, right? Let's talk about, ineligible ridership and what that looks like in each district, right? We currently have fewer, but, we're transporting a lot of ineligible students across Timpanogos Highway to get to the junior high over there. And as a district, will you continue to support that? Are there options to look at where, we're providing some support, but it doesn't look the same as it looks right now? And I think the Timpanogos district, along with Lake Mountain, will have to examine, other options and to see what type of support we can get from cities to provide additional infrastructure to make safer walking routes, and even with the state at the UDOT level, right? There's talk of, a pedestrian bridge to allow students and other pedestrians to cross Timpanogos Highway. Will that ever happen? Certainly that would, and at what cost, right? But certainly that would help with that problem of transporting across Timpanogos Highway.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Again, thanks for allowing us to come back and continue this conversation. We're going to talk about numbers, drill down just a little bit. Could all three districts continue to service both eligible and ineligible routes? Well, currently, as far as routes go here in Alpine District, there are 222 routes and 272 drivers and 388 school buses. As you look at the west, and as we kind of divide things out again by that same metric of eligible ridership, it would equate to about 80 routes that we would need out west to continue transporting, which would equate to about, dividing the bus drivers by that same number, that we'd get about 101. Not saying that's how many that they need out there.
Right.
That's how many would be allocated. And then buses 162. As far as Central or Aspen Peaks, 107 routes, 117 drivers, 166 buses, and then Timpanogos, 67 routes, 53 drivers, and 60 buses. So just kind of drilling down the numbers to see how things would be separated and allocated. And then remember we talked about money and revenue, expenses, and deficits. Well, this is kind of how it breaks out as things are shared across the three districts. So as far as the almost $16 million in revenue, it breaks out like this. Expenses, similarly, and then deficit. Capital that was spent, like new buses, and then the total deficit. Okay, so any questions with this that I can't answer for you?
We go back a slide again.
So by these numbers, this is basically showing us that 24-25 is currently operating at a deficit by the way those fall down.
Yeah, these are the numbers from the 24-25 fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it
So,
rolls.
so generally, this is an expense-heavy department, and it's really just mitigating those costs.
Correct.
And again, I think to keep in
Yeah.
mind that the funding from the state, right, we talked about state funding, and state funding, even for eligible routes, doesn't fully fund
Right.
transportation. It funds it at a much lower percentage,
80%.
right around, I think it's like 73% for our district. And so even if we just ran eligible routes, there's still gonna be a shortfall. We're still gonna run in a deficit.
I have a question
Yes.
on this one. So we have almost 25% more routes and more drivers, but only like a couple more buses. Why is
Yeah.
that?
From the west to central.
Yeah, we have 27 routes, 4 buses.
You in the West are very close as far as eligible ridership goes. So again, that's why we look at division of assets, because you guys are both fairly close,
Oh,
right?
because state law divides buses by eligible
By
routes, not by,
eligible.
okay,
Eligible
that's why.
ridership, right?
Okay,
So
that's
we
right.
have more ineligible.
They have more students
We have
riding
more
buses
ineligible, they have more eligible
percentage-wise
students
than
riding than we do.
But if-
Fewer schools,
Yeah.
That makes
more
sense.
students.
But then, are the buses being separated by student count
State
riding
law
buses?
requires buses to be separated by total number of eligible riders,
Not total rides.
not
total
total riders.
ridership.
Total
So,
eligible.
so we have a ton of ineligible.
No, you don't have.
We don't have a ton, South has a
There's a lot
ton,
of
yeah.
walking schools.
Yeah, your ineligible ridership, I think, was right around, let's see, I think it's around
Yeah,
like
it's
maybe.
We're pretty close.
Yeah, it was like,
It was like
so that's why we have-
1,600 kids, and the West was like 600 kids.
Yeah.
So you
So
have
that is
a
why.
That's why
higher
I'm like, is that-
percentage
Yeah.
than the West, but
Yeah.
not a ton still, nothing compared to.
But South
to
has
notice.
almost more
So I
ineligible
totally
than
understand
eligible.
your statement
Yes.
before about
Yeah,
it'd be
that's my
hard
concern.
for us to have to do double routes when they are busing.
Ineligible students.
Ineligible
And we can
people.
charge them whatever we want, and they can cover that cost, but my concern is if we continue with the driver shortage, which is likely, right?
1,750.
Are we
routes.
gonna have enough drivers to,
How many drivers are
even with the
you
double
are participating in your plan where they are going west, and so you're facilitating transportation west for them?
Currently, there are, gosh, I can't remember how many east drive west, 24-ish drivers who park their buses east and drive a west route. And those are all next year coming back over to the East Transportation Department.
I think the good news for both you guys and Tippinotis is that the lion's share of drivers in our department come from these two areas, right? From that
This is where they
Gorham
want.
area and from this Lehigh, American Fork area right there. I think as far as drivers are concerned, you'll probably be better off than the West will be. I think they're gonna have a harder time recruiting and keeping drivers out there just because the population hasn't quite caught up with the needs for students out there. So yes, we're in a driver shortage, and yes, we don't know what will happen with that, but there are more drivers that I think out of convenience will probably want to remain in one of these two districts because it's closer to their workplace.
And part of the negotiations, we could say you have to provide your own drivers, right?
not
Well, we'll
now,
do it.
not if
Let's,
it's-
Yeah,
let's
we'll
let them
talk a
explain
little
what
bit
they
about that
they'll go
here
into
in a
that.
second.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so.
Good problem solving.
Yeah, meaning, so we talked a second ago, Joe talked about sharing services, and we actually took a trip up to Cache, Logan, where they do this, and they've done it for 25 some odd years. They've been doing it a long time, and historically Logan, they used a third party much like Ogden did, had a very bad experience. And so they went to Cache and said, hey, we don't want to do this third party anymore. We'd like to partner with you. And so they entered into this with one pleading to the other. And I don't know if that'll be the case here or what, but it works very, very well. So things that we learned from this was Cache is 82% of the partnership, and Logan is only 18%. Cache is the managing partner. That means they hire, they train, they fire, they discipline, they do everything. They take everything on and make it work. Logan does purchase their own buses, and then on top of that, they pay Cache 18% of operating costs. But then one thing that's kind of unique, Logan, 10% of the equity of their buses, they transfer back to Logan or back to Cache each year. Then after 10 years, Cache owns those buses outright. And that kind of helps take care of the unbilled administrative costs and some capital expenses.
And to give you some context, when they entered into this partnership, Logan had no buses, right? And so that's why as we talked to their director of cash, it was because like Logan didn't have any buses. So like, okay, start buying buses, and then, you know, we'll gradually, as part of this MOU, take ownership of those buses. Because again, Logan didn't really want to start their own transportation department, so they're kind of fronting this initial upfront cost, and then slowly that asset is coming back to cash.
In fact, if you look at their buses, they all say Cash Logan School District. So there's no crossover, which means Logan buses are used to service Logan students and routes.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how that works. So once 50% is transferred over, now it's a cash bus and they use it? I'm trying to understand. Like, how does ownership of the bus transfer, but they're still using it for Logan's routes?
They just own, I mean, it's just their asset, right?
Yeah.
So after, yeah, if you get 10% each year after that, you know, period is up, they've got 100% of that equity in that bus. It's now they just own that bus.
Oh.
So if they were to ever dissolve this partnership, right, who owns the buses? Cash owns all the buses, or will own all
And
the
there'd have to be
buses
some type of
eventually.
I think after 10
Yeah.
years.
And it just requires Logan to continue to purchase new buses, right?
Right,
Probably
and that's
how they're-
based
it's
on
probably
what
how
cash
they're
says they
accounting for
need,
depreciation
right?
of the buses.
Like, hey, you want to add routes, or you need to add routes, you're gonna do an additional bus purchase. And so there's an ongoing conversation between the two boards about the needs of each district.
Okay, so if there were crossover, it would be very, very important that calendars would align, bell schedules would align, or that would cause a significant problem. Okay, and this is a conversation that will need to happen here as well. One interesting fact, though, is as far as routes go, there's no crossover, but with field trips, they're going every which way, so they help each other that way.
And I think you know, some of you guys have mentioned it, to that point of, you know, this ineligible issue, if there is no crossover between the two districts as far as routing is concerned, then that doesn't necessarily become an Aspen Peaks
Problem, yeah.
It falls back on that other district to make a decision on how they're going to handle that concern.
Yep. All right, another thing that we learned, we are one of, well, I think we're the only district of our size that does not participate in what's called a space available program. And what that means is it allows students to ride on an existing bus route even if they're not eligible, if there's space available. So we'll kind of talk about this for just a minute. Seats are only offered if there's capacity once the eligible riders are assigned. And we went to all these districts and asked questions and found out that they all have space available programs. We don't. And there are a variety of reasons why we'll not get into right now. This is an example of Jordan District's guidelines and kind of an application to apply for the space available program. So passes are issued for the current school year only. They don't continue on, it's not continuous. They have to apply every year. And students have to use their designated bus stop. So there are not bus stops added. If you start adding more bus stops, then you're potentially losing funding that you only get a percentage of anyway. So students have to get to those current bus stops. And passes are issued after the start of the school year. Kind of a magic date for most is that October 1 seat count. That's when our reports are due to the state as well. So usually things have settled down, students are in their bus seats, and it makes sense to start then. Some start a little bit sooner, and some don't start till after October 15th. So this is something we're exploring more. There are some things that have to happen for it to really work well, and we're hopefully going to iron those things out. All right, any questions on that? Darn it, no kidding.
It's
Yeah.
actually not a question, it's a comment.
Yes.
while we may not have the space available program, I can tell you there's neighborhoods that are taking advantage of that.
Yes.
I was gonna say, we may not openly say we do it, but I definitely know kids that are.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fully aware that there are students
Okay.
riding the bus that probably shouldn't ride the bus. And-
Well, and I mean, like, my neighborhood has pickup on SR 92, and the kids go across Highland to the far west side for an elementary school. And a lot of our neighborhood goes out the back to Alpine Elementary School for an immersion program. And so the families have figured out if the kids walk out the back of our neighborhood, they can pick up on the Alpine Elementary buses, which we're not districted to, and there's space on them. And so that works. Junior
And-
high kids have also figured out that instead of getting the early bus at 7:28 on Timpanogos Highway, they can walk out the back and catch the 7:40 bus, and they all still go to Timberline.
Yeah.
So, that, like, kids have
we have
figured it out.
Creativity and problem solving.
We have-
Which works great in a winter like this winter where we've had no snow.
Yeah.
They're like happy to walk through the
I,
fields.
I know that it's happening in various places,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
it
we're-
wouldn't be hard to
I think we all-
formalize that and start tracking it.
Where Alpine District is an open busing district,
Yeah.
we're fully aware of that as well. Where it comes to be a problem is when the buses become overcrowded, and then we have to figure out who's supposed to be on that bus and who isn't, and then we have that very uncomfortable conversation, and be creative with bus passes and other things.
But in the context of like ineligible riderships, this is how other
You can fit
districts
in as
address
little as
this,
possible.
is that they don't allow open
Yeah.
busing, and they utilize their SIS to identify students, like they're looking at Skyward and they're saying, okay, here's a list of students who could ride, and if you're not on that list, you don't get on that bus until we determine that there's space available, and then we initiate this space available program to address that ineligible problem. We realize that, you know, even if we're as efficient as we can in transportation, there's always going to be a few empty seats. And do we just allow that to become a free-for-all, like it currently is, where anybody who shows up jumps on the bus, or do we, you know, move into a, you know, systematic kind of process to say, okay, if you want one of those seats, here's how you get one of those seats.
Can we charge $50 per pass, and then we can pay off part of our debt?
It's a for-profit model. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what they do in California, right? Busing is charged for students there.
All right, continue on, is that okay?
Yep.
All right, let's talk more a little bit about this, the two-way shared services. Options that we're looking at as possibilities. Lake Mountain splits off immediately, becomes their own, not only their own district, but their own transportation department. And Aspen Peak partners with Timpanogos. Those are two viable opportunities or options. And looking at that, again, just revisiting what each has. Lake Mountain has transportation office, a bus yard, a fueling station, but lacks the service center. There were plans to build one through the years. It just kind of didn't happen. But at some point, that's going to happen because it's going to continue growing, and it's going to have to happen at some point. In the meantime, it may be an option to have an MOU with Aspen Peaks to have the buses serviced and repaired, and they're all set up to do it. They have the software to do it. They can nail it down to exactly what the parts are, what the labor is, and all the shop fees and things like that. So they're ready to jump in and do that as we speak. Between Aspen Peaks and Timpanogos, there's an office, there's a yard, there's a fueling station, there's a service center. It's all there. It's all there and can be a very viable option. So Aspen Peaks could act as the managing partner, enter into that MOU, and coordinate calendars, bell schedules, and et cetera, and things could flow very, very nicely. One thing that, like Joel's explained, it's going to be a very difficult thing out west if there's nobody to partner with. If we get into a bind and say, hey, this bus broke down, we need somebody to jump out there, we don't have the crossover, and that's going to be a challenge. So, but one thing as far as drivers go, right now we don't have the same driver base as Timpanogos and Aspen Peaks, but it's trending better. We're getting more and more. We have a new driver class that starts Tuesday, and out of the 13 drivers, 10 are from out west. I like those numbers. It's getting better. Not great, but better. So talk a little bit more about Aspen Peaks and Timpanogos. If you look at and compare it to the Cash Logan scenario, Aspen Peaks would be the 69% senior partner, so to speak, whereas Timpanogos would be the 31%. Aspen Peaks would be the managing partner, hire, train, staff, do everything. They could handle everything. And then Timpanogos would purchase their own buses, pay Aspen Peaks 31% of the annual operating costs. I don't know if this would be a good scenario. It's a possibility. Obviously, it works for Cash Logan to transfer 10% of ownership, but potentially at some point, Timpanogos may want to go out on their own. And if that's the case, they may want to retain their ownership of their buses. All to be worked out.
I'm still trying to figure out what this equity thing. So after 10 years, the bus is owned by the other district.
Yes.
Why would you want a 10-year-old bus?
Well, it's
Because they run for about 20 to 25 years.
Okay.
That is right.
That's
So
why.
we pick up
Unlike
another
regular-
15 years
that
of
is the
service.
answer.
So
So-
they've
Nice, all.
So they pay, right? So Logan pays Cash 10% equity on the bus
No.
every year? Or
No,
that's paid
It's just,
like
essentially, it's just saying,
Ownership
after
transfers.
10 years,
10 years of bus.
Oh.
Cash owns the bus.
Okay. Oh, so that's all it is, just
Yeah.
the 10%.
But again, in this partnership, Timpanogos is coming in with 60 buses, right? So maybe with their existing fleet of 60, you say, okay, those are yours. If you need to purchase new buses because Timpanogos needs to add additional routes, then moving forward, maybe you look at something like this or not. And I'm not sure how that 10% ownership helps also in that MOU of making up a percentage of the cost of running that operation, right? That may be, there may be, hey, that 10% equity that we get each year is obviously a part of that MOU and may speak to, how do we make up that gap for other operation costs that Cash has to incur.
If we did this and we didn't have routes crossover, then we wouldn't have to exactly align our calendars and start times and all of that, though, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't have to, no, but it may make it more difficult if there's a need to cross over to help each other out in an
Right.
emergency setting.
Right. Okay.
Well, I mean, if we didn't cross over, we might be able to help in other ways. 'Cause it's like, oh, you guys have a holiday that it's not a holiday for us. Anyway.
I just think I don't want to be tied to having to
Start
approve the
times.
same calendar and the
Yeah,
same start
that's
times and the same.
frustrating.
That's what-
But if we could
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
I mean, you
We
could
already
still
are
help
kind
on
of
an
rebellious when it
emergency
comes to
basis.
calendars, so.
Yeah.
We're just known as that.
Okay.
It's fine.
So
Sorry.
I really favor this kind of partnership. Like I think it makes a lot of sense. My question is, how tight can we get to like the precise costs? Because where we're talking about percentages, especially on like the 10% equity ownership, like I'd love to have like hard numbers on what that looks like to make sure that we're being fair to our taxpayers.
For sure.
And so long as those numbers do present in a fair way to both districts, I think that's a really easy decision. But is it possible to, I guess, give us the idea of what those numbers look like? Jason,
Well,
Yeah.
in our finance meeting today,
He's just smiling over there.
in our finance meeting today, we talked about implementing a software that tracks cost by asset.
Okay.
So if for some reason, like the Timpanogos district had 20 of their buses that needed engine replacements, then we would know like which direction those
Yeah.
things fall.
Yeah.
So
We should be able to identify actual
Yeah,
operating
We
costs
already
by
have,
areas.
we already
right?
have that software. It's already set up to go. They can drill it down to the
Not
exact
physical
gallon of
facilities,
gas
transportation.
that's being used, or not
we can't roll it over
fuel
the facilities.
that's being used
Use the
to
same
go
system?
either direction. So it's already in place.
Yeah, our service center uses a software called Dossier, and it does all that. Like they track man hours, every part that goes into it, and just like when you go to a dealership and they give you a little invoice at the end that says what parts were put in, how much man hour it cost, just like that. We do that for our buses right now for internal tracking, and so we can do the same thing. As Rex just said, you can do the same thing for fueling as well. So you can
So
get
we
very
could
granular.
do actual costs and then a percentage of our overhead.
Right, because you're looking at, okay, the state's gonna reimburse us on eligible ridership, then you break out how much ineligible ridership are we doing, or ineligible routes, and so they're gonna obviously pay that separate than you guys would pay, and so, yeah.
That number would adjust as that person.
Every year it adjusts.
Yeah.
And if you talk to the guys at Cash, they said Logan every year just gladly with a smile writes them a check and says, thank you for taking this off our plate, right? It's a good move for that partnering district.
And I think for us, the benefit comes from they're paying part of our employee costs, and I mean, because people will be doing, instead of doing a job that they only really need 30 hours a week for us, they can add that extra time, and then Timpanogos is paying for part of it, right? So that's really how we come out ahead.
Was
Yeah.
it the same
Well,
you had?
I mean, that's why, that's how it benefits us.
And I'll show you, there's another slide here that'll show you how it benefits both as far as FTE goes. It's
That's what I was
it's pretty
meaning, like,
significant.
yeah, so it helps us.
Because we've been with churches.
Yeah, the question I have is the reports that you do now, transportation, would those all be done just by Aspen Keys? And would they get the almost up to 80% of the 73, and those become their riders, or do both districts send in things for their own riders?
So the way it's done up in Cash is their director of transportation runs the state report for both and recovers the.
So they file for reimbursement separately.
But the funding would, for Logan, comes into Logan for their own riders?
No.
Or is it-
I think
The reporting entity would get everything.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
because I'm just thinking, like, if you have, this is different, but like school, if you have students that are going to Aspen Peaks but live in Timpanogos, like may happen, that Aspen Peaks is gonna get all the WPU for that, like, so if they're there, but this is a little different, where these are actually students here who are partnering, so I don't know how that would work. But I think the part there you're kind of asking is, well, it's the 6931, because that's a percent of total ridership or eligible, is that the 6931?
This right here is on
Riders.
total ridership.
total
Total
ridership.
riders.
Yeah.
And I think the 10% is to make up all the other that doesn't get covered by the state.
Right.
And again, they write just that check. They just say, hey, 31%, if 100% of our operating costs will pay you 31%, and you're getting equity in our buses. That's the MOU that they've
That's
entered
the
into.
part we need to figure out.
But that would be something, so it's 69% of total ridership and 31% of total ridership. But Timpanogos has a lot of ineligible people,
Yes.
which we would not get reimbursed for.
Right, so
But
they would have to,
write the
yeah,
check.
you'd have to
That would be
pull
part of
that out. That would be a
We'd
separate
have to allow.
cost for them to incur.
Yeah,
that they
so it
would
wouldn't
have
just
to
be a
reimburse.
6931, we'd have to figure something out.
So division of personnel is a little bit different. As the state says, we divide that per total riders, not eligible
So
ridership.
buses are divided on eligible, personnel are divided on total.
Correct.
Okay, that's not confusing.
So as we look at drivers, attendants, mechanics and such, right now we have 272 drivers total
Yeah.
in our district, split up. That's how it would go to each Lake Mountain and the combined Aspen Peaks, Timpanogos.
My favorite part of this, though, is like, what are you going to do if someone doesn't want to go? Like, if someone lives in Saratoga and doesn't want to drive for us, it's not like you can force them to.
No, and I think we
Right?
look at it more as FTE than
Okay.
individual people.
Just
To me, that
like-
makes a little bit better sense.
Like, what if you only have
Just like that half
97
person
that
up
want to
there.
go to Lake
Yeah,
Mountain,
that
or
half person.
get the half person who now has to?
Because initially out west, it's going to be a lot more difficult to staff bus drivers.
I think keep in mind too that 272 is total drivers, and we don't have all of our drivers on contract.
Yeah.
A lot of them are hourly drivers, so that will be a big difference. I think with the number of contracted people, you'll be fine to get people where they want to be.
I think I asked this last time you guys came, and you had said that you had already kind of started that process, right?
Okay. As far as bus attendants, right now we have 59. The division look like that. Mechanics,
It's mostly on sped buses.
only on sped
That's
buses,
what I
yes.
thought. Okay, thanks.
Mechanics 12 that will be divided as such, and office support staff 31 divided into those numbers.
What
So-
does, Okay, so I know that the service center for the West has come up like a zillion times on the budget and it never gets approved. What type of capital influx do they need to have their service center ready to go? They don't have it at all? It only does some things? I thought they could do some things out there.
Out where we are right now, we just do minor
Minor things.
bulbs,
Okay.
Do you have the
wipers.
space? Or-
Wipers,
No.
I can do that in
They're
my
out laying in the
driveway.
rain and snow doing it.
Okay.
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 It's miserable. I can't believe they're still around.
It's not, because it's not snowing this year, that's why.
I think to build it, the plan was about $12 million.
Okay.
So as we, just a reminder, this is what we believe it takes to run a transportation department. So Aspen Peaks and Timpanogos would need 30 FTE to staff it. They'd be short 27. If you remember back when we talked a minute ago,
They'd be short 27 or they're
Short
no,
three.
they're allocated 27, short 3. If you remember back when we talked, if they were separate, that shortage was a lot more significant, more like 12.
So if we let Lake Mountain use our service center, would that also help us?
If
Or
we had a
not?
service center MOU, there are 4
Yes.
FTEs that was going there that we could probably
Move over.
bring, we could take in and then.
So in this way, it helps both in staffing
Yeah. for a little while,
significantly.
Until they could get their own.
So just to break it down a little bit better, Aspen Peaks needs 24 3/4, allocated 18.6, there's a 16.15 deficit. Whereas Timpanogos needs 15, gets allocated 8, there's that deficit. If you share, it cuts it down to a deficit of 3. So
Yeah, so that's where
one I think significant positive.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a proposed timeline as we look at this. And my eyes are so bad I can't see the little computer screen for that one. So I'll turn over here. So beginning this year, after this current school year, everything Lehigh is going to be shifted over from the west to central for routing and such. And we've already hired additional hourly help to help route that and help take on some of that extra work. That's 45 routes, which is about a 42% increase. So that's pretty significant. Then, spring of 2026, right now, we're discussing the shared services structure. Hopefully something will be approved and we can start moving forward for this transition. And hopefully we can hire directors of transportation sooner than later so that we can help get this ball rolling, the wheels rolling, right? Then hire and place transportation support staff somewhere between summer and fall. And then start having a conversation with contracted bus drivers and get them placed where they want to be and where they are needed. Yes.
Question, what can we do so that there's not such a big turnover in bus drivers? Can we just pay more than everybody else? I mean, what can we do?
It's not always all about pay. For some people, yes, that's significant. For others, it's contracts. For others, there is no answer. Sometimes it's difficult because it's a split schedule. They work in the morning, have the middle of the day, and come back in the afternoon.
They're working 4 hours a day.
If one thing that works in Granite,
That's tough.
they have control of the bell schedules completely. Not that we want that, but they completely control the bell schedules.
Transportation does?
Transportation does. And they can structure their workday such that they can pay their employees 8 hours and put them on an 8-hour contract, a full FTE contract with benefits and everything.
And so
And
do
that's
they
very
have less
enticing.
turnover in Granite?
Yes, they did not suffer through the shortage like other districts have. They were mostly fully staffed through the entire.
But you have drivers that want to be hourly, that do not want to be contracted.
Absolutely.
So I think Granite has a 4-hour contract and an 8-hour contract, or maybe we do as well. Like, do you offer different contracts?
We do. Right now, most of our contracts are half, so they're 4-hour. We do have a few that are 5 and a few that are 6. We don't have anything larger than that. We couldn't fulfill it. We don't have the work to provide them. I would add that, again, in addition to all that Rex said, a lot of drivers are looking for benefits. And so if you're willing to spend the money on benefits, and I was just talking
Making
to
benefits
Jason.
eligible at 30 hours or whatever.
Yeah, like providing those benefits would, because that's why people come in, they're hourly, we pay a fairly competitive wage, but unless you're willing to offer benefits, then that's where the real kicker is. And he just told me for a driver who may be making around 40 grand, you're probably paying 37,000 a year in benefits on top of that. So it's that
Yeah.
that really, it might move the needle, maybe, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
So does Granite offer benefits?
Well, 'cause
Yes,
they're full-time.
They do.
Because they
And it's
are
almost-
full-time.
And it's almost day one they offer it.
Because they have longer contracts, do they have less total number of drivers? Like, how does that work in terms of their workforce?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
So I'm just wondering because, like, if they have them working full time, that must mean they're working most of the day. How does
Yeah.
that work in terms of their?
Yeah, so they start in the morning, they drive through
So they
pretty much
don't
the
need as
entire
many
day.
drivers.
Well, that's one of the things I'm wondering. Do
Right.
they need as many, or because I don't know if that would really work. I'm just curious, kind of how that.
What kind of,
Does that mean
there'd
their
have to be
schools start
significant
at significant
variability.
different
Yeah.
times?
Yes,
Okay, that's
they have
fine.
high schools that start at 3 or 4 different start times. Middle school's the same. Elementary, probably even worse. I have a copy of their schedule somewhere in the
Schedule,
office.
yeah,
It's
all over
it's
the place.
crazy.
But
It's
because
absolutely
they
crazy.
have that flexibility, they are fixing a ginormous problem on the other side.
Yeah.
They don't have a shortage of drivers, right? They don't struggle like we do because
They don't all start at the same time. I mean, we have we're making it really hard on ourselves.
that and an 8-hour contract that's very appealing to those employees, right? And they recognize as a district that they're not getting 8 hours out of that person, right? There's a lot of days that they're not able to fill that whole contract, and they just that's just a wash for them.
At the same time, there is research that talks about when are the best times for schools according to age to start, right? If you're this age, this is the best time, just developmentally, for them to have the most cognitive juice, right? If you're this age, it's this time. If you're this age, it's this time.
Which I would love to
So,
study, but I
does
would not
Granite-
love to study every
Yeah.
school starting at a different time.
Has Granite tried to marry those two at all, or is just no? It's based on
Based on transportation.
transportation.
As
Because
far
that
as
would
it-
make me nervous,
Yeah.
is to say we're gonna have 6-year-olds start at this time because it's better for
No, I don't think
our
they're
bus
doing
drivers.
anything that crazy. Their start times mirror somewhat what ours do. It's maybe an offset of 15, 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
not.
families would get used to that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
It
know.
really is a balancing
I don't
of
know either.
polarity, a whole bunch of positive things, right? And we would have to decide what is the problem that we really want to go after? Is it we need drivers and that's our problem? Because if you start altering secondary schedules, then you have misalignment with the secondary schedules, which means you can't go school to school. You also you have problems at MTech if your kids are going to MTech. So everything has a
Any
solution, but we
any
have to
concurrent
balance
enrollment
what is the
classes,
thing
it's
that's
like
going to get us
What
where
is
we
the
want.
problem?
Do you want to
Right.
start later? But then,
Yeah, but
Right.
it's
And then
only
that certainly
15
affects
minutes.
intramural kind of activities.
But if we
It's
But if
absolutely
only
things we
15
can study.
minutes,
Which is great until you're trying to take a class at Lone Peak and a class at AF, and now none of their start times match.
or they're
And one of the
very
things we can
bad.
one of the things we can look at is right now we're trying to solve a projected problem.
Right.
Right, or a problem that we have is that a larger entity, as we go into a smaller entity, it might not be an issue, and so maybe we
Just wait and see.
wait and see, and then we make some adjustments and some plans. But all good ideas and all things we should look at for sure.
Like, I think it'd be interesting to do just like a financial breakdown of eligible riders, and what our future costs would look like, and if we just charge, like, if we were viewed as like a third party, just like Ogden uses a third party, if Timpanogos viewed us as a third party and just paid $17.50 per eligible student, what does that look like versus trying to split the 69-31 percentage and all of that? It's just like, if you just viewed us as a third party, right? And
That's another option.
but anyway, like, it might be a simpler way to do it, and at the end of the day, it might be more, anyway, financially. Because I was running numbers for us, because I was like, oh, what would the cost be if we just did third party? So I was going back through your slides, And the cost to us if we did 1750 an eligible rider would be close to 12 million a year. And I think even with our overages, we're at 9.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, well, it is more cost effective to do it in-house, right? But we also provide all those other services that a third party would provide that, you know,
Right.
This generates the conversation, right?
yeah.
Okay, continue on, get through this last part here. The timeline again, so July of 2027, Lake Mountain operates independently, will probably service and repair buses through Aspen Peaks with an MOU. Aspen Peaks provides all transportation related services for Timpanogos. That's kind of just a proposal. And at some point in the future, Lake Mountain builds its own facility, doesn't need the MOU to repair and service buses, and is just completely on their own. And potentially at some point, Timpanogos could also build their own transportation line and take on their transportation all on their own. Okay? So, first of all, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come, take up your time, and just express these ideas that we've kicked around. Like I said, this starts the conversation. Hopefully the conversation will roll somewhat rapidly so we can start putting some of these things into place. But as things do start to come together, we would just ask, please let us have a seat at the table when it comes to bell times, calendars, schedules, and things like that. When it comes to bell times, we have a tiering system, and Joel, we've discussed this over and over and over again, right? But for transportation to function efficiently and to get kids to school timely, we need at least 45 minutes between. If not, we get later and later as the day goes on. So if we could just have a seat at the table, that would be so meaningful. And not only that, but with ineligible ridership as well. We know there's a problem. Buses are crowded. We're late, on and on and on. If things don't change, they don't get better, right? So we just would love to have a seat at the table and engage in that conversation. Some additional considerations, just so you know, our department requires a lot of software for routing, fleet management, activity bid, on and on. Radio repeaters, we talked about that in Capitol today. That's to make sure we can communicate with our buses or bus to bus and office to bus and back and forth. It's somewhat important, right? Other capital needs, buses, driver compensation. Joe said we have a very competitive wage, and we'd like that to continue. The driver incentive has been very meaningful for our drivers. Increase in special ed routes, vans that we talked about earlier today as well, and continue to partner with special ed as it relates to bus attendants. Remember, we talked about these considerations. Options are clean split, shared services, school start times and end times, and ineligible ridership. So all very, very important things we need to discuss. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
I know Eric wanted to make a few comments.
All right, Eric.
Can you send us the slides?
I'm sorry, they're copyrighted.
Well, we promise.
If I promise to not sell them to
Yes.
anyone, can I
I
send
mean,
out
they're worth a lot of money. And my closing comment is just this: like, if you're worried about that financial piece, like, it's not a problem at all for Cash and Logan, right? I think if we get business administrators from our district to begin communicating with new BAs and have a conversation with Cash and Logan to see how that works, I think that's going to be the least of our problems, is making sure it's a fair and equitable, partnership. And I think the financial part is not, it's going to be a non-starter. You'll be able to figure that out and make it fair and equitable for both districts, because that's, like I said, it doesn't seem like it's even a second thought. Like, their MOU is literally like 2 pages long. It's very simple, it's very clean, and they just make it work from a financial standpoint. So, Eric?
First, I just want to express appreciation for both of these two, and David, that Ludwig is not here. This department operates at a level of efficiency that is hard to understand until you start digging into it. When I took over as the director of operations, and they were very patient in educating me on how everything works, but they spent a lot of time explaining to me on how we are able to maximize our resources, and they do one of the best jobs in the state at that, and they've been recognized that at a state level. They're all trying to learn what these two do with the resources that they have. When it comes to this, as I've started analyzing it, I really do think, and Jason, you asked a very good question. You said, who benefits from this? Clearly, we have an asset that Timpanogos District does not, but they also have an asset that we do not. And when you look at the infrastructure of what it would take for a physical facilities department to get up and running, that's why I think a partnership of this kind works. But I think it's not a long-term type of a thing. I think it's a graduated release. As once you build up all of the infrastructure that you need, then I think you reevaluate. Because long-term, if you look at shared services and what that would mean as far as coordinating bell schedules and all of your calendars, all of those things really would have to align, especially if you're going to share services with the physical facilities department as well. It would make sense that everything is similar. But as you're independent, I think that gives you a lot more flexibility to study these things of start times and being a little bit more experimental there, where another district might not want that. And so I do think that short term, it makes a lot of sense. Long term, if it were me, I would still work towards that graduated release of we're independent. So that's just my closing thought, thanking them, and just answer any questions that you might have in the future. Just recognize that as it goes along, if we need to study something more to prepare you, we will do a deeper dive for that. Jason.
Yeah, I have a question, and this in no way is a reflection on anything that's currently happening in these wonderful gentlemen. One of the things that we're going to have to decide is, as Aspen Peaks is, for example, in Alpine, there has been a practice of hiring school administrators to do jobs that aren't necessarily school.
Industry-related
your teacher prep
areas.
didn't prepare you to be a bus.
Sure.
These guys do an amazing job.
Yeah.
Sure.
But so for like HR things, for public relation things, for other entities that are
Specialized.
Yeah, specialized
IT
purchasing
things,
and
whatever.
legal, right? Things like that. Is there, in your guys' opinion, some benefit to having it continuing with, I know what it's like to be a bus driver and a school and a principal and what happens on and how that impacts a school when transportation does and doesn't go well, versus an industry guy who was trained in this kind of protocols and management and fleet and blah blah blah. So kind of just talk real quick about some pros and cons of having it continue like two former grade administrators now in a transportation route versus hiring someone this is my job in fleet management and things like that.
I mean,
As we think about it, what should we consider? And
you're absolutely right. Coming into transportation, but before transportation, I was an adequate administrator. But
Right.
I mean, coming in, I always thought, well, you ask for a bus and a bus materializes, right?
Shuts up.
But there are many aspects of the job where the admin hat comes in very, very handy. I mean, number one, we have relationships with other administrators, which, I mean, they could build those relationships, but it's going to take time. Also, knowing how to deal with parents on issues. I have people in the department I would never want to talk to another adult, right? Not necessarily in the office. I have phenomenal workers in the office. I have great personnel. And I have one or two that, could probably step in and do a very, very good job. But I think you do lose a lot from having an administrator in the position.
some of those specialized soft skills that a school administrator brings, someone that was just trained in some industry that may have some technical skills that you guys had to learn, but in the end, technical skill versus soft skill, which one? Okay. Any other thoughts about, as we kind of think about, because this isn't just transportation. This is
No.
going to be all kinds of specialized.
Yeah, and again, I was, Rob plucked me out of a school 12 years ago and put me in transportation, and at that time I didn't see how they really married together. But I think the value is that I understand, even at that period, how school works, right? I understood that school is very different, particularly public education, than industry. And things that you can do in industry, conversations, things that you can say, how you respond to a person who's dissatisfied in industry versus how you respond to a parent and a taxpayer. It's a much different conversation and massaging those relationships. And I think there's some street cred that we had when I went to a principal and said, we can't do this. And you know how I know we can't do this? Is because I'm here in transportation, but I also understand that as a principal, as a responsibility for kids, like you need to, we need to meet each other in the middle, and I understand the pressures and the needs, right? And that especially comes into play when you talk about activities and routing and when kids are being dropped off and when they're being picked up. I worked at a school where it took buses a half an hour after school to get there, and I lived that hardship of, managing 7th and 8th graders for an extra half an hour with absolutely nothing to do except, be crazy. And so I understood that, and I empathized, and they knew I knew that. So there's value in that, right? Certainly there's value in bringing, but, from what I can tell, like a full-time it's a logistic issue, and those people are really our routers, and our coordinators are working through those logistics. Our role is to help those people understand the school side.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks you guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys.
Thank
For your
you.
time.
Great job.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. This has been very informative, and our study session is now adjourned. The time is 5:06 p.m. Board of Education will now come to order. The time is 6:00 p.m. and all board members are present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. At this time, we will have our prayer or reverence by Todd and Raquel Tellis. Yeah, I think you toggle it on. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Hi, my name is Todd Tellis. This is my wife, Raquel Tellis, and we are here on behalf of Calvary Chapel in Mountain View and American Fork. We are members there, and we are in charge of the marriage ministry. And thank you for having us today to open up with a word of prayer. Father, we come before you, and we are so grateful for your goodness, for your faithfulness, and for your love for us. We know, Lord, that we cannot do anything apart from you, and Lord, we just want to pray a blessing upon this new school district. We pray for wisdom, for direction, for peace. We pray for just something new that's going to honor and glorify you. And we know that you are in control of all things. So again, we pray for blessing upon everyone that meets here and every meeting going forward, and as well as all the kids that will be impacted by everybody that puts work into this. So we love you, we thank you, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. We are excited about the next item on our agenda, recognitions. We will turn the time over to Board Member Burrows.
Okay, this is very exciting for us. Amber and I have talked about this for like 3 months. One of the first things we talked about, we're like, we want to get our students involved. And it's been amazing. It's been a lot of work, but it's been really amazing. So before I announce the winners, I first want to ask my friend Russ to come up here. Come on. He works for Adobe. And I actually reconnected with him. We're from the same small town in Nevada. It's amazing. We grew up like down the street from each other. And I worked with Lehigh Cares, and he was there, and he helped with their logo contest. So then I was like, hey, I have a friend who might be able to help us. And so Russ is not over that area anymore, but he still jumped in and was willing to find some designers to help us and to help our students to be able to refine their work. And so we wanted to give Russ a thank you note. What are their names? Were Alan and not able to come? So we're just going to give them all to you. Oh, Alan is teaching a class tonight. And we even had someone from New York who was zooming in or whatever you use, who helped some of our students. So we just want to thank Russ and Adobe and our designers. So if we can clap. Okay, so this is what you actually want to hear, even though Russ is awesome too. So we decided that we wanted all 5 of our top 5 designs that we had chosen to get an award and to be recognized here. It's amazing. We went from 55 submissions, and one of my favorite things is that we had at least one submission from every one of our secondary schools that's in the Aspen Peaks boundaries. So that was amazing, and we just saw some great things. So I want to explain a little bit of what we did. So we received 55. We put them in a slideshow, and we sent them to the board and to our superintendent, and we said, choose your top 10, because we didn't know where to go from there. Like, how do you take 55 and decide from there? So from the 10, we took everyone's favorites and we went down to 15. And when we got down to 15, then we said, hey, you can work with an Adobe professional, or you can just work on your own design. And here's a little bit of criteria that we would like to see as a board. And then from there, they returned their work to us, and then we went down to the top 5. I think a lot of people saw it on our Facebook page. We got a lot of new followers that way, so thank you. I loved that there was a great excitement about it, and we let our public choose their favorites. And we had said, we're going to let the public choose our top 3, but we get the ultimate decision, because just in case, right? Like, just in case. We needed to know what we were working with, but I should not doubt this. Our community committee was really good at helping us choose a superintendent. Like, they were amazing at it. They agreed with us really well, and we agreed with our community again. So, this is the order for our contest. And yes, come up. I think 4 of you are here. One is out of state, but he told me he was going to watch. So, hi. Okay, in 5th place, we have Kimber Honji. And we originally had said that we were going to only have 3 winners, but when we decided to have all 5, you will notice that you do have a check inside also. In 4th place, Jaden Howe. Maybe. Jaden must not be here. Okay. Grady is the one that's out of state, and in 3rd place is Grady Gunter. Hi, Grady. In 2nd place, Andre, how do you say your last name? Sobresos. And a friend told me that you did a lot of the scene for the play at Lehigh High School, that you did a lot of it. Yeah, went and watched it. It was a great job, yeah. And then in 1st place, Noah Palmer.
Thank you. That was just a delightful time to recognize the wonderful talent that our students have. We appreciate you so much. All right, we will now move to community comments. We have up to 30 minutes set aside for public comment, and this opportunity is for patrons living within the Aspen Peak School District boundary. A sign-up sheet was available prior to this meeting, allowing up to 10 patrons the opportunity to speak. Those living outside of Aspen Peak School District and those who were unable to sign up before all slots are full can submit written comments at www.alpineschools.org/o/aspen-peaks-district/page/board. As you are called up, please introduce yourself by stating your name and your city of residence. You will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Please know that the board will be listening carefully, but is not able to engage in dialogue during this portion of the meeting. They may arrange to communicate with you later. Personnel issues are not appropriate discussion items for an open meeting. If you have a personnel concern, please put your concerns in writing and address it to the Board of Education. First up is Bethany Paxton.
Hi, again. I'm Bethany Paxton in Highland. So I teach French and current issues at Lone Peak High School, but I'm not actually originally from Utah. I'm from Alabama. And my high school, Grissom High School, was known for its academic excellence within the state. Notably, my junior year, we had 28 national merit semifinalists when most high schools average about one per year. I was not one of those semifinalists. But a significant reason for my high school's academic reputation was that students were incentivized to go the extra mile. One such incentive was the advanced diploma, similar to the 28 credit diploma that we currently have in Alpine School District. It required 2 credits of a world language, an extra credit of math and English, and as well as an extra elective credit, and I chose Photoshop. The 28 credit diploma, as it is currently in Alpine School District, does not offer much distinction for students who choose to pursue it. If you think about it, why would a student choose to bother taking 4 more credits when a 24 credit diploma gets the same recognition with less effort? Additionally, I know of a student personally who is hoping for the 28 credit diploma, but at the first sign of struggle, rather than help her attain her goal, her counselor recommended she aim lower and try for the 24 credit diploma. At my own high school, those who achieved the advanced diploma were considered to have accomplished something special. Advanced was written in the large letters on our diplomas, and we got to wear unique cords, and we were asked to stand at graduation to receive acknowledgement from those in attendance. And as for me, the most beneficial part was that when I was applying for colleges and scholarships, I got to highlight the fact that I had an advanced diploma and specify what made it so, which I believe helped me stand out and receive several scholarships that I might not have received otherwise. Aspen Peak School District has an opportunity to offer such a distinction to our high schoolers starting in 2027 by giving the diploma, the 28 credit diploma, a name that honors our students' academic fortitude, acknowledging their efforts publicly, and allowing them to shine on their applications for colleges, scholarships, and jobs. I hope you will seriously consider giving our students these opportunities. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Becca Jane Waite.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Becca Jane Wade. I live in Lehigh. I'm the librarian at North Point Elementary, and I'm on the board of the Educational Support Professionals, formerly the Classified Employees Association. I wanted to address the issue of equity of assets in the current Alpine School District being divided between the 3 new districts, specifically the Instructional Media Center. The Alpine Instructional Media Center would be located in the new Aspen Peaks District boundaries. And I would like to advocate for the teachers, librarians, and special ed teachers of these future districts to have access, equal access to this incredible asset. The Instructional Media Center has so many valuable curriculum supporting kits that teachers can check out. There are so many kits that are available for libraries and special ed teachers only. They are also incredibly helpful to align with curriculum. These kits should be available to all 3 districts when we split. I know that a few of you have visited the Instructional Media Center on Discovery Day, but I encourage you all to visit and see what has been carefully curated to enrich the education for Alpine students, and hopefully will continue to do so intact for the benefit of all 3 districts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you to all who provided comments. We truly appreciate your input. Next up is approval of the minutes from the January 29th study session and board meeting. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from the January 29th board meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from from Board Member Brammer and a second from Board Member Sparty to approve the minutes from the January 29th study session and board meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. We will now move to routine business. Dr. Perkins.
Yes, you've all received the expenditure detail report and claims in board documents. No, we're okay. And I would recommend you approve the expenditure detail.
I move to approve the routine business.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Board Member Bonner and a second from Board Member Hart to approve the minutes from the expenditure detail report and claims for January. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. Our next item is Board Resolution 2026-002, Cell Tower Amendment. Dr. Perkins.
Yes, this resolution is to allow Alpine School District to extend the cell tower contract currently existing at Lone Peak High School. It's listed as a discussion action item, but we would certainly, if comfortable, we would recommend approval.
Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-002, Cell Tower Amendment?
I move that we, is it adopt? Approve the resolution 2026-002 cell tower amendment to extend the lease at Lone Peak for the cell tower.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I'll second. We have a motion from Board Member Sparty and a second from Board Member Bonner to approve Resolution 2026-002 cell tower amendment. We will now open it up for discussion. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to let the public know, we do have several schools that have cell towers located on their property, and the rental price, I guess, that the cell company pays goes to the school that helps to support activities and things at the school. So I always am grateful when they get to have that little bit of extra revenue, so.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we will vote. All in favor of approving Resolution 2026-002, Cell Tower Amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. Our next item is Board Resolution 2026-003, declaring 16 vehicles as excess for disposition. Dr. Perkins.
Yes, this resolution, similar to what we previously did with the buses, these are 16 white fleet vehicles that are ready to be disposed of. And this would authorize the Alpine School District to move forward with the disposition of these items.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-003, declaring 16 vehicles as excess for disposition?
I move to approve Resolution 2026-003.
Do we have a second?
Second. Oh, and third.
Okay. We have a motion from Board Member Bonner and a second from Board Member Thieler to approve Resolution 2026-003, declaring 16 vehicles as excess for disposition. We will now open it up for discussion.
I don't have any discussion, but Steve and I were talking earlier about how one of these vehicles is 40 years old, and I was really impressed with our physical facilities department, because we have definitely gotten our money's worth out of that one.
That 1986 truck has gotten some use, so life well lived. Yeah.
Vintage now. Maybe it's worth more when we sell it. I don't think that's how that works.
Anyone wants to buy it from us.
Oh, we like to have a good time. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we will vote. All in favor of approving Resolution 2026-003, declaring 16 vehicles as excess for disposition, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. The next portion of our agenda is board member reports, and I would like to start off by reading a post that we as a board published right before Christmas on our Facebook page. However, our Facebook page was brand new at the time, so not many people were aware of it and read it. So we want to be sure that our future employees know how much they mean to us. So I'd like to read it for you, and then we will be reposting it. To each and every future employee of Aspen Peak School District, we want to say something that doesn't get said often enough. Thank you. Thank you for showing up every day for our students, for caring deeply, and for giving your time, energy, and heart to this work. The difference you make in the lives of our students, their families, and our communities is real and lasting. In the Aspen Peak School District, students will be the guiding star of everything we do, and caring for them begins with caring for you. Our vision for salaries, benefits, and early retirement incentives is to provide the security you deserve while looking for opportunities to improve these offerings in the future. You are truly the heart of our district, and we are deeply committed to ensuring that every employee feels valued, respected, and heard. As we look ahead, we are excited to build on the strong foundation already in place and to move Aspen Peaks forward with thoughtfulness and care. We truly value your ideas, your voices, and your partnership, and we look forward to shaping the future of our district together. We are grateful to work alongside you and proud to have you as part of the Aspen Peaks team. We look forward to the great things we will accomplish together. With sincere thanks, the Aspen Peaks School Board. We will now hear board member reports.
I have some things I want to talk about.
Please do.
Thank you. Sometimes 2 weeks between board meetings feels like a long time, but at the same time, when I think back of everything that we're able to do in 2 weeks, it's pretty amazing. I was just counting in my head. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been in 9 Aspen Peak schools, and there has been some incredible things happening in all of those schools, and it's been great to see those things. I went to an FCCLA region competition or a meeting at Viewpoint, and that was really fun to see our secondary school students that are involved with that club there, and I got to see some of the things that they had been working on to compete in at state in a couple of months. I went to Lehigh High School's play, Sense and Sensibility, and I laughed my head off and went home singing and with a giant smile on my face. There's a boundary study happening that affects one of my schools, and I've been able to talk to a lot of parents there that are feeling confused about that. But even through confusion, you can see hope and you can see goodness, and there's just a lot going on that's great in our area. And I want to just give a shout out to everyone who just keeps on going and tries to look positive with all the changes that are happening, that they are willing to be flexible and try to think the best and want the best for every student.
Thank you. Yes, Nikki. I just want to give an informational report. Tomorrow, February 13th, is when our job posting closes for the business administrator position. So we are very eager for that to end, see who's applied. We worked really hard to put some very specific things we're looking for into that. In addition to that, our new superintendent has been working on creating a cabinet organizational chart, and it's just such an exciting time. We receive so many emails and so much feedback from the community, from employees of Alpine that live within our district. Mrs. Paxton, I loved your suggestions today. I hope that the community will continue sharing by email with us those things that you see we can improve upon. That's so helpful for us. So if you have anybody that you know that's a CFO or has experience with public finance, the job closes tomorrow for the business administrator position, but there's still time. It's available on our website. But other than that, we'll keep you posted as we go about hiring that in the next few weeks.
I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to a couple different groups of people. First of all, the legislative session is ongoing, and I've been up at the Capitol a lot. And I'm just grateful for our legislators for all the time and energy and effort that they put in. And I'm also grateful for all of the people who spend time up there advocating for our schools and our kids, and how the two groups come together and try to do what's best for kids. And I appreciate that. And I'm also thankful right now for our teachers. My daughter is in theater at Lone Peak, and they had a little mishap at their rehearsal last week, and the teachers just jumped right in and took care of the student who was injured. And I'm so grateful for all of those employees that we have, and for how they watch out for our kids, and they take care of them when we're not there, and they provide these amazing opportunities for our kids, and then they're also there if the opportunity doesn't go perfectly. And I'm just grateful for all of those things, and they and for all the work they put in with that. So I've just had a lot of opportunity over the last couple of weeks to see people who care about our kids, and I'm so appreciative of our community and all of those who are trying to make our schools better and to give our kids the lives they hopefully get to have in the future that they deserve. So thank you.
Oh, please do.
So yeah, I just want to take a moment as well, just kind of with what Board Member Bonner was saying. I had to take that for a moment. About the legislative, and I've been able to go up there to the Hill and kind of see what's going on, and kind of be appreciative of the process, seeing a little bit more of how that all works, and to kind of work towards advocating for our district. But I also, on a more personal note, I had an opportunity to go to the STEM fair that was being held at the elementary STEM fair that was being held at Willow Creek yesterday. And it's just one of those things with somebody who has a family history of science background and engineering stuff. It was just kind of fun to see the 5th and 6th grade students there and their different work and all the hard work they were doing towards that. And seeing the opportunities that are being given to them. Maybe my daughter hadn't participated with it, so she's like, oh, this is a cool thing. And so it's one of those things that as we're going forward, I love seeing these opportunities for our kids and the students in our community to be able to extend their skills. And so even though we're not over the schools yet, it's still appreciative to see what these kids are doing in our schools.
So many wonderful things are happening in our district, and we are so grateful for this opportunity to serve. Thank you, board members. As there is no further business, does anyone have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion from board member Burrows. Do we have a second? Thank you, and a second from board member Sparty. Otherwise, we're going to stay here all night to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The voting has been unanimous. We are now, I'll have to look at my official watch, 6:29. We are now adjourned at 6:29 p.m. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are thrilled to have you here.